What up, dude? It's your girl, and we're back again today for another podcast episode. So thank you for joining us once again. If this is yours, whoa, my bad. If this is your first time here, please take a preview at previous episodes. This is just, I don't want to say random episodes, but episodes about anything and everything. So there's really no sequence of order for them, and it's not a series. When I do post series, or when I do create a series, though, it'll be done in order, and you'll know it'll be in its own kind of thing. But welcome back to the ones who have been here before, and welcome here to the first-time viewers. As some of you know, we do have a couple hundred views on some platforms now, and multiple shares, so thank you for the support and love. As, in all honesty, I haven't been doing this for too long, only a couple weeks. We did take a week break because life does happen. Things pop up, and in all honesty, sometimes we just need to take a break from things, and that's completely okay. But on today's episode, we are going to be discussing parenthood. Now, this perspective is only from my perspective. Later on episodes, we are going to bring in perspectives from other mothers and fathers and do a whole joint episode, because here soon I'm going to be releasing another co-hosted episode. So that'll either come maybe tomorrow, actually, because we're going to probably double up on a few videos so the viewers have something to view, since we were gone for that week. But, yeah, it's going to be coming here soon, because parenthood isn't the same for everybody, and that's just something I wanted to emphasize. But now we're going to roll right into it. Like I said before, parenthood is different for everybody, and in all honesty, parenthood is just one big wild ride, because not every kid is the same, and that's okay, but everybody goes through something different with parenthood, either from like their first child all the way down to their fourth, fifth child, even sometimes more than that, or even just second and third child. It is just a wild ride, and everybody's in a different stage of life, and everybody has children in different stages of their own lives. Because when you're a parent, you're not only just taking care of yourself and your spouse and a child, you're taking care of everything, which is crazy. And it's just mental and physical, especially for children, because they're still learning how to regulate their emotions, and we're supposed to be there for them nonstop. So now we're just going to take a dive into this, and by definition, parenthood is the state position or function of just being a parent. This is biological, legal, or social caregiving. So that's what Google definition is. So we'll just keep on going, because for everybody, they're going to have their own definition of parenthood. Like for me, it's loving a child physically and emotionally. It's not just giving the basic needs to a child. It is going above and beyond the basic needs of that child. So it's more than just the food, the clothes, the shelter. It's being there for them all the time. It's letting them do the things they enjoy, letting them express who they are, and be free-spirited as much as they want. I don't know why that was a tongue twister. It just was. But to me, parenthood is different than how somebody else is going to see parenthood. Because as you see on social media, some people are the people who are like, no, I only provide the food, the clothes, and the shelter for my child. I'll be there if they need me, but they kind of got it thing. And for others, it's more of like I'm just going to do the basics, and that's all that the state requires me to do. And to others, it's going above and beyond and just being an open door all the time. For some, it's pressuring your kids to be a certain way, and for others, it's just letting them stay free-spirited. So now, we're going to talk about what we thought parenthood would be like. So, for me, I thought parenthood, I knew it wasn't going to be easy at all, but I just thought that there wouldn't be, I don't know how to explain it. Nobody just talks about the strain that it actually has on you physically. They're always like, just wait for the late nights, just wait for, always having to change diapers, or always feel like you're feeding, or just always being there kind of thing. But for me, it's more of nobody actually talks about your mental and physical well-being besides with parenthood. So for me, I didn't know like how mentally strained you would be and how physically strained you would be. And nobody talks about the adjustment in the schedule. I didn't realize how much you would adjust your schedule with a child in that sense, especially when you're just figuring out your child when you first have them. So for me, I thought it would just be like, oh, I'm just going to go out and just take my kid kind of thing, but not mentally thinking about how much more time you have to prepare with your child to get them ready, to get yourself ready, and make sure you have everything. So for me, that was just a big wake-up call, because I knew that obviously it was going to be an adjustment with a child, but I didn't realize like how much of like a scheduling kind of aspect it would be, or how much it's like no child is the same. So it's like people would be like, hey, if this happens, do it this way. But it's like, for me, that didn't work, you know? And it's just sitting there just thinking about it. And having a child is just not black and white. Like, some people make it feel like having a child is like a black and white tech manual or like textbook. Like, hey, read this and this is how you're going to do it. Like, the baby books aren't everything. I didn't even honestly read a baby book. But, like, the baby books are not like a tech manual to how a kid functions, if that makes sense. For me, it was just like, I wish people would have just told me, hey, like, by the way, instead of it taking you an hour to get ready, it's probably going to take you 2 or 3 hours now to get ready. So for me, that was a big adjustment into parenthood. It was just the time it's going to take. And nobody talks about, like, the screaming and the crying in the car seat, too. For me, like, when my child would just scream and scream and scream in the car seat, I was like, what am I supposed to do? Especially when driving by yourself. Nobody talks about that. Like, what, like, emotionally, I don't know if it's just a mom thing, but, and, like, just being, like, postpartum and freshly, like, all of your hormones adjusting, but nobody talks about how much you just want to cry when you're driving a car and you hear your kids screaming in the back seat, in their car seat, and, like, you just can't do anything about it, especially if you're on the expressway or in a traffic jam. Like, what am I going to do? I can't pull over on the side of the expressway. Well, I could, but then to me, that just offers, like, a safety concern, you know, because, like, what if somebody doesn't see me pulling over and, like, they fucking, like, rear end my car, or, like, they're not paying attention, because I'm out in California, so people are texting and driving all the time. It's so bad that I would just be scared that somebody would just hit my car. But for me, that's just, like, my aspect on it. Like, there's just so much that happens during parenthood that you just can't cover everything. You have to figure out for yourself some things, and, like, very kid-specific things are some things you need to figure out, too. So, and it's just, like, every kid is born different. They're born with different, like, health, things, like disabilities. Some children are, like, born with, like, I can't give advice on that. My child wasn't born with a disability. Like, I can tell you how it is to have a child early, but I can't tell you what it's like to have a child with a disability. So it's just kind of like, it doesn't look the same for everybody, I guess, is what I'm just trying to put out for you. Unlike what you thought it would kind of be, it's just going to be different. It's like, it took me about 6 weeks to finally probably adjust my schedule to include my child into it, and to, like, be able to have, like, a routine down. Especially trying to get, like, them on a night routine. I finally got my kid on a night routine to sleep through the night at about, like, 2 or 3 weeks old. The first 2 or 3 weeks was not it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I felt like I was up all night, every single night. And it was just more of, like, one, I was scared to death of SIDS, which I feel is valid. Some people will probably say it's not a valid feeling. I thought it was a valid feeling to be scared that, like, SIDS could happen to my child. So I was just more of, like, paranoid in that aspect of just getting up. I felt like I was up, like, all the time, every single night. Like, I felt like I just didn't sleep at all. And then the people always were like, just sleep when your baby sleeps. Like, what? Like, I can't sleep when my baby sleeps. Like, nobody talks about how loud newborns are. They're always grunting. They're always, like, moving. They're, like, sometimes burp themselves. Like, they're just loud. And then, like, if you have a loud baby and they just get quiet, sometimes you're like, is there something wrong? Like, am I doing something wrong? Like, why aren't you making noise? My child was loud for a few, like, weeks. And then, like, I don't know if they just regulated themselves or just adjusted. But then, like, they started sleeping soundly and sleeping completely fine. And then I was like, is that normal? Like, is this supposed to be happening? So, to me, I just thought, like, the transition would be smoother. It was not that smooth. I don't want to scare anybody, but it was true. It takes time. It takes time to get into a routine, to adjust the schedule and everything. And every child is just different. I can't preach that enough because people, like, try to make it sound like every child is the same. They're not the same. Not everything is going to work for everyone. So don't stress that fact. Just do what you think is right and best and feels right and best for you and your family and your child. Now, we've already touched base on this part, but we're just going to talk about how it is different for everybody. So, like, mentally, it's different for everybody. Not every single mom and dad goes through the same postpartum, like, feeling mentally and physically. Like, physically, right after I gave birth, I was just lucky. I just got up, was walking around. Like, to me, I felt normal. I still felt fine. I don't think it really hit me until I got home, like, that I was like, oh, dang, like, I have a child. And for me, I just think that's because of, like, the hospital experience, because you're getting checked on. I think the baby was getting checked on every 2 hours. I was getting checked on every 3 hours. So it's like you always had somebody there, and you always had somebody who had experience with children at the hospital to help you. So, like, I have experience with children from about 6 months all the way until about 12 years old, besides, like, my own teenage years. But because I used to babysit and I used to nanny, so that's the only reason why I have child experience. I was exposed to that. My mother exposed me to, like, children and helping children and everything for that. And it was more of like, for me, I had the exposure to it. But when it's your own child, it's kind of like a different feeling. I don't know how to express it really, besides the fact, like, it's just a different feeling, like, you can't leave them, like, you don't give them back kind of thing. And so for me, like, in the hospital, like, I was fine. Like, parenthood and motherhood really didn't hit me until I got home. And I was like, oh, dang, like, this is my responsibility. Like, in the hospital, like, my baby was fine. Like, everything was normal. Like, everything seemed normal. I was like, all right, cool. Brought them home, and I was like, oh, this is different. The first night I didn't sleep. My kids screamed all night, and I think it's just because it was a different environment and different setting, so it was just an adjustment, different noises, because obviously a house is a little bit quieter than a hospital. You don't have people coming in all the time. Like, you don't have everything in the house running. The most we had was, like, white noise and a ceiling fan running, and my child was in a bassinet. So it was kind of like just that adjustment, but it's different for everybody. Like, I have friends who brought their kids home from the hospital and they just automatically started sleeping through the night. Like, nothing changed from the hospital to the home. For me, it changed. I have friends where, like, their kids, like, during the day felt like they slept all day, and it was just trying to get them adjusted on night schedule. Like, every child is different, and that's okay. That is normal, but it's just like a wake-up call kind of thing, because you're like, oh, damn, like, this is my full-on responsibility now. But, like, it's to me, it felt good. It was a nice responsibility to have. Not everybody feels the same, though, and everybody's going to go through something different. And I just want to put this out there that, men go through a postpartum phase, too. It's not talked about. It's not talked about as much as women's postpartum phase is talked about. But men do go through it. They can get depression still. They get anxious still. Like, those things happen. Like, it's a normal feeling to have. And it's normal for both of you guys to kind of just go through your own thing. Like, you're not going to go through postpartum the same. for me, mentally and physically was different than my partner mentally and physically, and that's okay. The toll is just different, and like the aspect is different, the hormonal change is different, and that's completely okay. It's fine, but like for me too, it's like, don't compare your postpartum to somebody else's postpartum. Because for me, I felt fine, and then automatically, like, out of nowhere, like, to me, it was like, I woke up and just felt depressed as fuck one day. I was like, how am I even functioning? And it just hit me out of nowhere. I don't recall what weeks it was, but I just remember the feeling. And to me, it was just like it could be even, like, the things you think. To me, I was thinking all the way back to, like, all the time, like, the whole time I was pregnant, who was treating me right and who wasn't, like, who was reaching out to me to make sure I was okay and who wasn't reaching out to me, like, who was pushing my boundaries and who wasn't pushing my boundaries. Like, that's just stuff that I went through postpartum. Different than how other people go through postpartum. There's some women out there who just don't go through too big of a postpartum phase. They're kind of like, no, I function completely fine, like, da-da-da-da-da. Now, that's what people say, but also it's kind of like, you can only know how other people feel based off of how much they tell you, if that makes sense. Like, I can't just sit there and be like, oh, my friend told me she was fine her whole postpartum phase, but that's kind of like what she could have just been telling me, and in all reality, they could have been the most depressed person out there. Like, I hope not. I hope they would come to me and be like, no, like, I was really depressed, but just remember that, like, it's just different, and it's not, like, the same front that everybody puts on. But it is different for everybody, and if I have to say one thing, I will say, do give men some grace, because they do go through a postpartum phase too, and it's just something that's not talked about a lot. For the most part, that's like all I can cover, like saying like how it's different and how it's different for everybody, until I can get more people to like kind of open up about it. But going into the next thing is boundaries. I made sure I had boundaries set. I vocalized my boundaries for myself and for my child. And this was during pregnancy. I was vocalizing my boundaries. For your children, vocalize their boundaries, or boundaries you want set for your children, until they can advocate for themselves. And make sure it is known. And don't be afraid, and just stand up for them, because you need to remember your child's voice. You are their voice until they are old enough and mature enough to have a voice. Well, until they're old enough to have a voice, but until they're mature enough to know what boundaries are, you advocate for your child. Rather that's the first few years of their life, or all the way until they're 18 years old, because some people, it is hard for them to form boundaries. So make sure, like, I'm not saying you have to have boundaries or make boundaries, but if you are setting boundaries for yourself and for your child, make it known. Make sure your partner knows what you want the boundaries to be, and what you are comfortable with. For instance, no, my child, you don't need one-on-one time with my child. You are not their parent. It doesn't matter if you're an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent. You don't need one-on-one time with my child. You don't need to be out here kissing my child. You're not going to force my child to kiss you or give you hugs and everything. To me, that's weird. That's weird behavior. Others don't think it's weird, and that's on them, and that's on you. All of us are going to have our own opinions for it, but you're also not going to just take my child into a room by yourself with them. That goes for anybody. Like, to me, that's just kind of like things like I watch out for, because it's like so much can happen, and to me, it's not about the title you have to the child, because at the end of the day, to me, it is just a title, and that is different across the board for everybody and what their opinion is on it, and that's okay. But make sure your boundaries are known to your friends. Like, when I was pregnant, friends and family and just anybody, like, don't be afraid to tell somebody who you don't know when you're sitting at a restaurant with your baby, if they come up and start trying to touch them, putting their fingers in their face or getting close to them, because it will happen. Be like, hey, 6 feet, please don't put your face, like, face to face with my kid. Like, 1, I don't know you. 2, I don't know if you're sick. Like, just don't be that close to my child, and that's okay. And make sure you advocate for them. It's all about comfortability too. But at the end of the day, you're your child's advocate. you can only advocate for them. And for me, I was firm on boundaries when I was pregnant. I didn't want people all up on me, like trying to touch my stomach. I think that's the rudest thing you can do, is touch somebody who's pregnant's stomach. I think it's rude when people make comments of saying, oh, you look so thin, or oh, you look so big, like ba-da-da-da-da-da-da about their pregnancy. Like, we're already self-conscious, we're already gaining weight, our body's already changing. Like, don't point it out because I already know, kind of thing. But also, like, it's not your child. I'm not your partner. You don't need to walk up to me and grab my stomach and shake it, or grab my stomach to feel if a kid's like kicking and stuff. Like, no, just don't do that. Like, that's my boundary. So it's like taking that into consideration to always advocate for yourself and always advocate for your child, because at the end of the day, you're your own voice and your child's voice. And make sure the boundaries are known with your partner too, because it's like, if you feel like you can't advocate for yourself, ask them to advocate for you. And the last thing I'm going to cover is going to be, when it comes to parenthood, if you think you're going to be one and done, that's fine. If you want 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kids, that's fine. Do what you think is best for you, physically, mentally, financially, all of it. Like, for me, one and done. To me, that's just how I want to be. And for me, I just don't think I could have another child and be mentally and physically and financially okay, and that is okay. For everybody, it's going to be different. And it's just also like how you set yourself up and the success you want to have for yourself and for your child or children. It's always like important to think about that aspect too. This is just my opinion though, so it's more of like a whatever you're comfortable with, just do kind of thing. But with this episode, I am going to conclude this parenthood episode. So thank you for listening to it, and I hope you guys come back and listen to future episodes, and we're going to get more aspects from other mothers and fathers about just parenthood and motherhood and fatherhood themselves, and what their perspectives are, what they have set, what they thought it would be, the difference for everybody, the boundaries, just discussing it all again. So you'll probably see more episodes of this. We will have just one for fatherhood too, so don't feel left out, dads. You're going to be included too. But thank you for this watch and, well, this listen. And I hope to see you guys later, or to have you guys listen later. So feel free to share, repost, download, anything. And just thank you for being here and showing up, and for the support.